Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back. And what are we getting into? We are getting into Love is Blind season 6 and we are now on the penultimate episode, the weddings, episode 12. And yeah, we have some things to talk about in regards to this episode, don't we? We really do. This is where I need to see all of yous like popping off in my comments now, because we need to have a discussion about this episode, like seriously, and what the hell Love is Blind is going to do in regards to any further series, especially in the American season, because it's getting less and less people getting married. Like seriously, less and less people getting married. Anyway, before we get into it, as I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so when you know I'm on and doing videos. And let's get into this video, shall we? So we left off where we see Jimmy and Chelsea having a discussion, right? And Chelsea's been asked where her head is at in regards to getting married, right? So basically Jimmy's telling Chelsea that, you know, she is his person. Like, and then when she says that, if you clock her head, she does a freaking whole head tilt and a deep breath. And to me, that says it all. Chelsea don't really want Jimmy. Chelsea just wanted to win out over Jessica. That's all Chelsea wanted. So I don't understand why Jimmy is continually trying to chase this woman. Like, seriously. Chelsea turns around and says that it's been tense and a roller coaster of emotions for her. And I'm like, my girl, Jimmy went through the same thing. Because at the end of the day, Chelsea was the one that caused majority of the tension within that household. Like, seriously, caused a lot of it. So right now she does, after her whole spiel, her whole speech, she turns around and says that she can see herself getting married to him, because she says they know that they can handle conflict. I'm a call BS on that. They cannot handle conflict, not in the way their conflict comes, man, because their conflict comes almost to like an abusive pattern of fucking control and power coming from Chelsea. Let's put it that way. Yes, Jimmy has his flaws. Yes, he sends mixed signals like he did through this speech, sent mixed signals, yeah, but Chelsea is the overarching issue within this relationship. She's the one that creates the conflict, and Jimmy is the one that has to try and step within it to get himself out of it. That's how I'm seeing it anyway. That is all my opinion, okay? So that's how I'm seeing it. You can let me know what you think in the comments. Just pop off in the comments. That's all I'm asking you to do. So Chelsea calls what they went through an off day. I don't know how many off days they have. I'd like to see them on a good day. But throughout this fucking episode, yeah, since he asked her to marry him in the pods and stuff, they've been having a few off days, more than once off days. Do you know what I mean? I've not seen them really been on a level of high at the end of the day. So Jimmy turns around and says to her that she's done everything that he wants in a wife. But then his spiel made it seem as though this man is going to say, yes, I want to get married to you. He said, no, he don't want to go to the altar. And I was like, okay, my guy. So you said what you said. You wanted to get to know where Chelsea's head was at, only to hear her say that at the altar, she's still going to want to get married to you and say, I do. And as soon as you got that answer, you was like, yeah, I don't want to do it. That was petty level number 1000. Like, seriously, petty level number 1000. But you know what? I can get where Jimmy's coming from in the fact that he does not want to get married to Chelsea, because he has seen and dealt with enough of her. So at first, Jimmy made it sound like because she was turning around at the pool house or wherever it was, they had this little get together and saying that Amy and Johnny is the strongest couple. He did not like that. And I thought, that's fucking ridiculous. If you literally made your decision on saying no to this woman because she said that another couple was stronger than you, when they are. Amy and Johnny was stronger than all of them in there, stronger than all of them in there, because at the end of the day, Amy and Johnny actually did what the experiment called for, got to freaking know each other properly and asked all the right motherfucking questions to know whether or not it was going to work. That's what they did. They got to know each other. It weren't just surface level shit. They went delve deep. They absolutely delved deep. Yes, we all concentrated on like the birth control and this, that and the other. But as you hear Johnny talking about certain situations and Amy talking about certain situations, they had conversations. Like, they had conversations. Everybody else was looking at surface level. Nobody else actually delved deep enough to know the person that they said that they were going to get married to sight unseen. So basically, Chelsea was really taken aback that Jimmy had said that he don't want to get to marry this person. They both say I love you, but I don't really think they know what the meaning of the word love means. I think they're in lust with each other or some kind of in with each other, but I don't think they're in love with each other. They probably have love for each other, but they are not in love with each other. And to be fair, I didn't want these two to get married anyway. Like, seriously didn't want these two to get married anyway, because it would have been one toxic marriage and you probably would have seen a divorce somewhere along the lines. I was saying that I would be saying, what's the use in continuing with the relationship? So Jimmy, although explains himself, I think the crux of the matter was the fact that he told Chelsea something in confidence and Chelsea splayed that across the screen. Chelsea was trying to paint it as though it was because he was protecting his like, you know, his view of himself, like he was protecting that. And it wasn't that. It wasn't that at all. He was protecting his friend, because he told you that in confidence to show, you know what, this is the level of trust that I'm going to have in you in that sense. I don't think Jimmy should have told her at the end of the day. I don't know if it would have come out later on down the line. If it did, you deal with it. But he decided that he was going to tell her because he wanted things to be open and honest between the both of them. So Chelsea got in her own way when she kept on seeing them two either texting each other or calling each other. She's saying every day. I'm like, you know what? If you were strong in your relationship and you're strong about your man, you ain't going to feel two no ways about it at the end of the day, because he actually got you to meet his two friends. This sleeping together was way before Chelsea, and they've not done it again in how many years? So for Chelsea then to get fucking motherfucking jealous, it's all up here for her. Like, seriously. It's all up there for her, and she couldn't control herself, so she let out and threw it in this man's face. She's trying to say she didn't throw it in his, but she did. She threw it in this man's face, and she threw it in his face on screen when he told her not to do that at the end of the day. So basically, Jimmy then bit back and said, hold on a minute. You can't have a go at me with this situation when as soon as you got your phone back, you texted your ex, who is your friend. You texted your ex and you even FaceTime the geezer at the end of the day. Then Chelsea tried to play it off again. So you see, with Chelsea, she'll accept certain parts of responsibility, but not fully, because then she wants to put half of the blame on Jimmy. Now, Jimmy does certain things where he doesn't forthright in what he's thinking and what he's saying. He will go around and reeking, like with the pure example with him telling her that he doesn't see himself getting married to her at all. He doesn't see himself saying I do at that altar. Yeah. But yet the way in which he was talking in the beginning was kind of like, this is where I'm going, but I need to know that you're on board with me before I actually say what it is that I'm saying. That's the kind of mixed messages that Jimmy sends to people at the end of the day. So now we know that their relationship is done. That's another wedding out of the way. That's another wedding gone. I honestly believe it's because Jimmy wanted Jessica. That's what I honestly believe. I honestly believe it's because Jimmy really wanted Jessica, because it's a bit coincidental that he does this now after he's actually sat down and talked face to face with Jessica and telling Jessica about she's still his number one in reality. I don't know which kind of reality he was in at that point, but that's what he said to Jessica in the last episode. So yeah, I still think it's a trial on from Jessica Gate. So you see things start to come to a penultimate end with with Jimmy and Chelsea. So you see Chelsea sitting there basically talking about the fact that he called her clingy, and that she went through the ringer with him, and that she felt that she was walking on eggshells with him, and that she couldn't tell him things in terms of her feelings because he would get upset. So Jimmy basically called her out on it and said, what things? And she went silent because she knew she couldn't say anything in regards to that, because she's always got, as I always say, a ready excuse for not accepting responsibility for her own shitty behaviours. But anyway, as I said, that relation then done. He turned around and says he cannot fathom marrying Chelsea after the fact of what she did. So basically Chelsea sees him as throwing in the towel over one issue, but as it is, it weren't just one issue. It was a lot of little issues coupled up together that came to the forefront with these two. And I already said from the get-go that these two should not get married in the fucking slightest. They're both as fickle as each other at the end of the day, and I'm glad that it ended there for them to. I'm glad Jimmy came to his senses and it ended there for them too. So now we only have Amy and AD, Johnny and Clay are the only couples getting married, basically. I says everybody felt like damn Lego, didn't they? So you see them go off to the hens party, you see them go off to the stag do, and Clay still does not convince me. Like, throughout this beat, Clay still did not convince me that he was going to say yes at the altar. Still did not convince me that he wanted AD. Didn't convince me in the slightest. Even when he picked up the jumpers, and they were looking at the jumpers and saying, oh, yeah, grooms to be. Johnny was hella excited. Clay was not. Like, fully, Clay was not. He was just going through the motions at that point. So, you see AD... back at the hen do, you see AD literally getting into her part in regards to the hen do, shaking her ass over a chair with Clay's face superimposed on it, and Amy's talking about how she's feeling, all the things. And again, I didn't see an issue between Johnny and Amy. I did not see an issue between Johnny and Amy. So Amy says Johnny is terrified of having children, and here we go, it's the birth control issues that come up again. She says that she's having fun but being careful, and I'm like, what does she mean by having fun but being careful? Are they literally going the full hog? Is he doing the pull-out method? Are they using condoms? What are they doing? I don't really need to know, but it's kind of like, what are they doing? Are they doing everything but? AD seems to think that, you know, Amy's riding the sausage train. That's what she seems to believe. Because AD herself says she's not buying no car if she don't get to just drive it. And all I thought at that point was, my girl, never mind the sex with Clay, he needs help in other areas. Because I knew at this point that, you know, Clay has been showing these signs. AD is going to get seriously hurt, because Clay has been literally boom, 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 showing signs. We've all seen him showing these signs within this program, but AD has completely ignored the signs that he keeps showing her. Completely ignored them. So Amy's basically saying that she's ready. Then it goes back to the lads, and Johnny is literally excited to get married to Amy. Clay, this is what I mean when I say Clay does not sing the praises of AD. Every time he talks about AD, it's always transactional and what the fuck AD has done for him. Never the other way around, what he has done for AD within this experiment at all. So he talks about how the chemistry has been good, how the sex has been good in terms of AD coming into his space and him just being comfortable. So I'm just like, that does not sound like you are ready for a wife, my guy. Like, seriously, it does not sound like you're ready for a wife. It sounds like you're just talking about a girlfriend at the end of the day. And to this point, I was definitely shocked that we have not seen Clay's father. The fact that Clay put this man on a pedestal, talked about him and his issues, and the fact that he kind of sees himself emulating his father, we had not seen his father throughout these whole episodes. None at all. Even AD hadn't met the man, which I found quite odd. to be fair, which I really found quite odd, because I thought that would be at least one of the people that Clay would get to meet. AD was his daddy. I know it's important for mummy and the sister to meet, but I thought he would have put daddy in there somewhere, at least to meet her, but he didn't. So he turns around and said it's like it's best friend vibes, and she validates him, she fights for him, and she keeps the relationship going. And again, don't hear no accolades of her in regards to what it is that he does for her. It's transactional. This is just transactional for Clay, and that's how I'm seeing it. There isn't no full emotion in there for him in regards to AD and in regards to getting married. And again, big red motherfucking flag at the end of the day. This bitch should have told us this man is not gonna go through with this. And how AD thought that this man was gonna say I do at the altar, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. He turns around and he says that he loves her. I haven't seen any type of love. I've seen the girlfriend and the friendship vibes coming from him, but I ain't seen like, I am so in love with you that I don't want to be apart from you. My man, you were never home. You were never home unless you had to be. He turns around and he says that he has a lot of flaws. And I'm like, well, what flaws are these, my guy? Because in one breath you're saying that, you know, AD's taught you so much. AD's made you heal from certain things. AD's made you become a better man to do this, and all that guff, yeah? But then in the next breath, you say you have a lot of flaws and you're hard to work with. So which one is it, my guy? Which one is it? So it's he doesn't instill me with any type of confidence that he's going to get married to this girl. And all I would say is AD's living true to her word in terms of not noticing red flags in guys quite early on, because Clay was given a lot of red flags and he continued to give a lot of red flags, but she decided that, you know what, she was going to work for this. This is what she wanted. And then sometimes I have to think to myself, is it a hint of desperation that you've now got to a point where actually you want to be wanted for you, which isn't a bad thing, but it's got to a point where you need this, you need to get married in order to show people that you've made it, or to showing yourself that you've made it. But if you pick the wrong type of guy, you are never going to get there. They're always going to be the type of guy that's always going to continually let you down and show you who they truly are when you've invested your emotions and your time in that person, but yet they still don't choose you. Yeah. So we're still on the stag do, and Clay's friends that they said they seen growth in him, and I'm like, where, my guys? Please point out where. People keep saying they see growth in him, but don't point out exactly what it is that they've seen him do. I ain't seen him do shit except stay away from the home at the end of the day. So basically they told him that when the wedding day comes, he can do that for the long haul. He says that he can challenge himself and see himself get married. Getting married is not challenging yourself, my guy. Like, seriously, there's different things that you can do in which to challenge yourself. And this is why I'm saying people, especially AD, needed to listen to the words that were coming out of Clay's mouth. Like, seriously, if you sat back and listened to everything this man said, it would literally paint a picture of this man don't want to get married. This man is not ready for that type of commitment. This man don't want that type of commitment. He still wants to run around and play the fool and play the field like in Papa. That's what he wants to do, because at the end of the day, he's taken on board the experiences and the shit that he saw from when he was a kid around his dad with him into his adulthood. He has not dealt with any of that. And this is why we keep saying this guy needs to have therapy. Like, literally get to the bare bones of it and deal with this shit, this trauma, this whatever that he's got going on with him, because he will do this in every fucking relationship. So now we get to AD and Clay's wedding day. Very nice venue, I ain't gonna lie, very nice venue. All I'm going to say is AD looked hella good in her wedding dresses. She was so ready to get married to this man, and her family was so right behind her to get married to this man as well. All I'm going to say is ID will literally be devastated if Clay says no, because nobody, which I know it would be hard to do, seems to prepare themselves for the person saying, I don't. I believe that they should have asked Clay first, and then ID could have acted accordingly, because if they asked ID first, I knew ID was going to say I do, and then have to listen to the whole spiel from Clay in regards to him saying I motherfucking don't. Do you know what I mean? Like, seriously, listen to all of that rubbish. So basically, she is one of 7 children, and she is the very first to walk down the aisle out of those 7 children. So it's kind of like, yeah, the pressure is on for AD. She's basically saying that she showed Clay what kind of woman she wants to be for Clay. And I'm like, and this is the problem. This is the problem right here. And then she continues with saying, without her confidence, she said they'll still be stuck in a pod somewhere. And I'm like, how does this not cause you concern, my love? How does this really not cause you concern? Because you were the one pushing and changing up for Clay, but he didn't change up for you. He stayed where he was. He talked a good game. Man talked a good game, but did not show it in his actions in regards to the change up that he says he had because of AD. He was just reeling her in, and she was taking it hook, line, and motherfucking sinker. So they showed the past bits, and I still can't get over the fact that in his proposal he says, will you take my lovely hand? In nowhere within his proposal was there anything similarly directed to ID in regards to how he felt about her and why he wanted to get married to her, and this is why he was asking her. Not at all. It was all superficial, all surface level, and all about him. Everything he does shows her that this man is not ready for marriage. This man is not ready for this level of commitment. Like, seriously, because I don't think he's given any type of commitment to anybody in his life like that, except for his work. This man was not ready for this level of commitment, and she did not see it, because all ID wanted to be was accepted by her man, was to be in it with her man, and to get married to this man. But Clay was not in it with her. Clay was not in it with her. So you see, ID's family comes through, Clay's family comes through, and oh my God, we actually get to see Clay's dad. And I'd have to say that Clay is a carbon cutter cookie of his dad. I don't mean in looks, I just mean in the way that they have the way with the words, the way in which they speak. I mean, because his dad didn't really offer him words of proper advice when it came to AD, or actually sit down and say, like his mama did, what is it about this girl that pulls you out? Why, you know, be true to yourself, sort of thing. No, there wasn't that type of conversation. My man started to go right back into the football days, how he used to race Clay, and Clay beat him, and then he lived vicariously through his son in regards to the athleticism and all of this, that, then the other. What has that got to do with the price of bread? Like, seriously, what has that got to do with the price of bread? Your son, he's standing up here at this moment in time, getting ready to commit to someone for the long haul. Where is your advice around that? Where is your advice around the glue holding and keeping it together and being open with your wife and making sure you're making the right this that, and that? None of that, because, as again, Clay is a carbon copy of his father. Like, he literally, it's just I, me. That is it. That's all that was shown. Clay's getting ready, and again he talks about how ID is rocking with him. He says he fell in love with her because she believed in him, and again, all about him, no emotional sentiment at all in regards to ID. It's just literally all transactional. That's how I'm seeing it. He turns around and said everything has been on brand for them. What the fuck does that mean? Everything has been on brand for them. Someone explain to me what everything has been on brand means, because I clearly don't know, like, seriously. So ID's mum enters, and ID's mum, it seems as though, had literally met with Clay's mum, and they got on like a house on fire. So she turns around and she says to AD that I would have picked Clay's mother to be her mother-in-law. And like this family is rooting for AD and Clay right now, like seriously rooting for AD and Clay, because this is a huge deal. Even though it's a TV program, reality TV, and we're doing our content and it's a huge fucking deal. You're getting married to someone. You don't take that shit lightly in the slightest. So AD turns around and says that Clay has been a good protector and a provider. And I'm like, can someone put answers in the comments, please? Because I don't think he has. I really don't think he has. I have not seen within what they've showed us him being a protector and a provider for this woman, like in the slightest, even down to the emotional sense where she needed it most, because this man was not coming home. So how was he being a protector and a provider when he wasn't in the home with you? He was not in the home with you, so how was he doing that? How was he fulfilling that for AD? I don't know. So again, with Clay's words, he starts talking to his boys about what type of guy he used to be, and I use that term loosely because I still think he is that type of guy. His friends were telling him to open up more, and he said that he's never chose anyone besides himself. And I'm like, well, how will you change that habit of a lifetime where it's just about you? Because throughout this whole experiment, it's been just about Clay at the end of the day and what AD can do for him, but never about what AD and what Clay can do for her. So he turns around and he says that I think he's still an I person, like totally still think an I person, because he really depends on AD to boost and enhance and motivate. And again, he doesn't validate her in the slightest. She validates him all the time. And at that point I was like, yeah, Clay's not going to say yes to this girl. Like seriously, he is not going to say yes to this girl. All the signs point to him not saying yes to this girl. So you see AD's mum passed down the jade necklace that came through the families from great grandmother, grandmother, down to mum, and now down to AD. And I'm like, and this is what I mean, they're getting hella serious, passing down heirlooms on the wedding day, and this man's not going to say yes to this girl. This man is not going to say yes to this girl. So then we move forward to Mama is going to walk Clay down the aisle. Not Pops, but his mama is going to do it, so that tells you a lot. So Mama told him that seeing AD walk down the aisle will be powerful, but for Clay to yield into his feelings of what it is that he wants to do. And I'm going to say everybody looked nervous. I ain't going to lie, when I was watching this, my heart was twitching, like absolutely twitching for this one, because I knew what was going to happen. And it didn't prove me wrong. I knew what was going to happen. So when AD comes down, she looks absolutely gorgeous. I don't see that whole, as I did on Johnny's face for AD from Clay in the slightest. She gets to the bottom of the stairs, because bearing in mind, she's walked down the aisle by herself. There's steep stairs. Do you think this man steps down to take her hand and says, let me help you up? Which would be common courtesy for a man to do, or anybody you're getting married to do. If they see the steep stairs, you're in heels, and they will say, give me your hand. Then you know you're in it with them. That man didn't even move. All he could talk about was how gorgeous she looked and and this, that, and the other. And then we get to when Clay talks about his vows. And he talked about how he wasn't too set on marrying someone sight unseen, because he really wanted to know what she looked like first. But then when she came through and he saw her, he turned around and said, I can work with that. And I'm like, everybody's laughing like Clay's funny. Clay was being serious on that point. He literally thought he could work with that. That's how he saw AD. So he turns around and he carries on with, he became a better man, dealing with her through this process, thanked her for her patience. And I'm just like, at this point, Clay's just saying a whole lot of words and not meaning any type of shit at all. He talks about her being adaptable with him. And I'm like, what does that mean, Clay? Her being adaptable with you? Like, what the... I mean, what... Everything is about him. 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 Again, neon lights. Him. It's me. I. With Clay. Like, seriously. He turns around and says that they have been authentic, but I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anything from him at all that says you have been authentic to this woman. You haven't at all. If people talked about the word team, there'll be an I in it for Clay. Like, seriously, an I in it. People say there's no I in team, but there is for Clay. Like, seriously, there is. There really is. ID then turns around after listening to that guff. Yeah. Didn't read into what he was saying in her own mind, I don't think. ID then says that she calls him her safe space and that he is home for her. And then her whole speech is literally truly speaking power into him. And I'm like, but he don't do that for you, my love. And he proved that in the speech he just gave you at the altar. Like, seriously, you completely missed the red flags within his speech. So, of course, the pastor then used a quote from the Bible. And then it was time to go. So they asked ID first. Of course, she says, I do. So when they ask Clay, well, you know, when they start with the long ass speech, you know when I do is not coming. So he started with the speech where he said he does not think it was responsible for him to say I do at this point. But we knew this was coming from the last episode when he was talking to ID about the cheating scenario and talking to ID about, do we have to do this on this time frame? And ID specifically told him, if you don't say I do at the altar, I am not going to be a long-term fiance. I will not be with you. That's we're not having a relationship like that. I'm not here to be your girlfriend. I'm here to be your wife. So he knew that going in, but I think Clay thought that he could change ID's mind. Like, seriously. He's talking about how he still needs work. How are you saying that you still need work when you've been telling the whole world, yeah, that you've bettered yourself? That ID's done X, Y, and Z for you in order to see clarity and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's all I'm going to say on that. All I'm going to say is, why didn't he do all of this before the altar? Why didn't he turn around and have that conversation with her and say, do you know what? I don't think it's going to work between us, because everybody else has managed to do it. But no, not Clay. And this is why I'm saying that this man came on this show more for the TV personality, to get his face and name out there in regards to his businesses, than anything else. He wasn't really looking for a marriage. He wasn't really looking for a full long-term relationship. He just wasted ID's time, like literally wasted her time. All I thought was, I hope ID stays true to her word and not let this man back in. Like, seriously, not let him back in, because how can he say all of this, say no to getting married to her, but then yet wants to keep her as a girlfriend, but yet you still ain't worked on yourself? You need to go work on yourself, because you want ID. You've got used to ID pouring into you and you not pouring into her. Yeah, man. So ID turned to her family and basically said, let's go. She was hella upset. She did stand up there and say what the fuck to him, like, really. And I thought, please, my girl, don't plead. All I thought was, don't plead with this man. Don't plead with this man. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. Have your grace, have your dignity, and walk away with your head held high, because ID did exactly what she wanted to do up in this experiment. She is upset because, again, she's done all of X, Y, Z within a relationship and they've not picked her. And I'm just like, well, for ID, I think she needs to go back to the drawing board and change up. Like, literally change up. Because she can't keep pouring herself into these people and they're not picking her at the end of it when they've taken everything from her that they can take. She needs to stop doing that. Like, seriously, she needs to literally read these people first before she starts pouring into them. Because if she'd have read Clay first, she would have realized exactly where she stood with this man, because he was putting out them feelers. He was saying in a roundabout way, showing exactly where he was at. He was doing those, he was doing that, he was putting those signs out each time he spoke, each time he brought up a scenario. But ID was ignoring those, like seriously ignoring those, and then thinking that when he was then in agreement that they were good, and they weren't good. They were not good. So ID is basically saying that she is confused. Again, the signs were there. The signs were there with Clay, like seriously. So Clay's mum talks to him and basically said that he doesn't need to have gotten to the point to be forced to do anything with the IDs. At the end of the day, it's in here, she was saying, and if you are not 100% sure in here, don't ever cross that line. And I'm like, that's all well and good right now. Like, seriously, that's all well and good saying that right now. But he could have decided that beforehand and not put ID through this shit. Because she's just got embarrassed on live TV. So he could have thought that out, sorted that out, and said to her, look, I don't think it's going to work. I am not going to say yes at that altar. Because he would have known ahead of time, even before that wedding came up, he would have known ahead of time that he was not going to go through with this shit. Don't wait until you get up there to embarrass the person, because it's not. I believe it wouldn't be a nice fucking feeling at all, to do that to someone. Like, seriously, should have gave her some grace. Don't take her up there and embarrass her like that. So Mama's words, okay, I understand. She's going to give that advice to her son to make sure that he don't feel bad with the decision that he makes. At the end of the day, we always knew it was going to be a yes or a no. Always knew it was going to be yes or a no. But my thing would have been the same way that Kenneth and Brittany done it, the same way that Jimmy and Chelsea did it. Well, not exactly in the same way that fucking Jeremy and Laura did it, but at least they were true in saying that it's not going to go any further before you get to that altar and embarrass the fuck out of the person you stood in front of. Clay could have done that. But Clay was not thinking of ID. He never does think of ID and her feelings. He thinks of himself and how he feels at the end of the day. With Clay, I don't think he'll ever be happy, because he is not ready to work on himself at all. As he said, he is his father and he's taken on that trauma that he's not dealt with, and he needs to deal with that in order to be a healthy person for somebody else. He says within his verbiage that he wants to get married, and I'm like, that's rubbish, because you had a woman in front of you ready to marry your ass and you didn't marry her. So no, you don't want to get married. You can't get married at this point in time, because you literally do. Clay does need to work on himself. So then he goes to go and see ID and then asks her if she's okay. And I'm like, my guy, how are you going in there to ask this girl if she's okay when you just fucked her over at the altar? What the fuck do you think she's going to say? No, she's not okay. No, stupid question to ask. And again, the man don't read the room. Like, seriously, don't read the room. So he tells her that he was struggling this whole time. And I'm just like, well, a heads up would have been nice, friend. Do you know what I mean? A heads up would have been nice, friend. And ID literally needed that heads up verbally, because she wasn't picking up on your cues that you were struggling. Not at all. She was not picking up on your cues, because ID was too struck in terms of what this man was saying and not actually reading between the lines of what he was saying. So he speaks. Clay is the one that chat. ID is just nodding her head and listening to him. At the end of the day, he's totally saying that him saying no was not for her but for him. He said that he was not rejecting her. And I'm like, but you did. In essence, you did reject her. You rejected her. You rejected everything that she did for you. So you did. You say no is a rejection. Either way, can't run from that. So basically, he then asked her for a hug, and she said yes, fine. And they hug each other and say to each other that they loved each other. And he turned around and he said that he wasn't leaving. And I'm just like, Clay, it's over for you. Like, seriously, don't beg it now. Like, seriously, don't beg it now. Let her go. Let her go. She needs to deal with her own emotions. Let her go. Leave her. Don't be saying things like that to her right now. And I did again think, is ID gonna go back on her word, because she was not gonna be no long-term fiance for nobody. So then you see Clay's mum and dad have a talk, and basically Clay's mum point blank said to her that he's carrying a trauma of what happened between us, and then subsequently things that she's now found out, which we all know, that he's had to deal with as a kid and didn't tell her. So he's carried all of that around with him and brought that into this relationship, and then brought that into his decision making of today in regards to the marriage. She point blank said that Clay was not ready for marriage. She point blank said that Clay is not really ready for that type of commitment. And what she needed his dad to do was go and apologize to Clay for the shit that he did to him, so Clay could have closure. And I thought that was the best thing that mum could ever say, like the best thing mama could ever say. But nobody within all of that, I understand it, Clay's their son and and they're gonna think of him in regards to why he did what he did. But nobody within that thought about AD and how she was emotionally hurt by what their son had done to her. Daddy starts to respond and he starts with the crying, and mama looked at him as if she'd seen this all before. She weren't fazed by it. So then the dad again, like Clay, went into the experiences that he had as his father, had nothing to do with the conversation. Stop making an excuse and justifying your actions in what you did with your son, and allowed him to be exposed to at the end of the day. So as mum said, turned around and says, that's neither here nor there. Clay has already taken on that brokenness, and mama told dad some home truths, like proper home truths. And then he said, the dad turns around, I don't know if he was trying to get on mum's good side, but the dad turned around and said, well, Clay needs to find someone like his mama, because you were a good person. And Clay's mum turned around and said to him, and these were the key words, you met me but you wasn't good to me, but we'll not go into that now. Yep. And then it goes back to Clay and AD talking, and again, I don't know what Clay wants from AD at this point. He's said what he's said, he's done what he's done. He can see that she's completely broken by what he's done, so I don't know what the fuck he wants from her now. But she turned around and she said to him that you learn so much about yourself, but you use me to do it. Yes, we saw this though throughout the episode, that he was using AD as a stepping stone. He really was. The way in which he spoke about himself, the way in which he spoke about AD and what she did for him, but he never ever spoke about what he did for her. Neither did AD, to be fair. Didn't really spoke about what Clay did for her. For her, it was all about how he looked, how he spoke. It wasn't in his actions, because this man never came home. Like, seriously, never came home until Camera Lights Action was on. I don't know what she expected from that. Clay left. AD got hella upset and started crying about the fact that she's been in these relationships all the time where she constantly keeps carrying people, she constantly keeps flowing into people, doing X, Y, and Z, and they don't pick her. And that's why I said it's time for her to change that up. It's time for her. She don't really want to change the essence of her, but it's time to make a man work to get you. That's what this is. It's time to make a man put in that work and show you that work, show the actions that he wants to be with you for the long haul. Anyway, we move on to Amy and Johnny's wedding, and all I can say, it works out for them without a hitch. There isn't anything bad. The families get along tremendously. The dad got all emotional. They went up there, they said what they needed to say. Amy went first and said I do, and Johnny went first and said I do. And so we have our only married couple again out of this whole season, Amy and Johnny. All through all of that, for everybody to drop out, 2 couples left, and only 1 couple out of all of those got married. I'm like, I'm like, what is the point of this show anymore? Like, seriously, what is the point of this show anymore? Because we are not going to get the results we got since the inception of the show with Lauren and Cameron. We're not going to get any more Brett and Tiffany's. We're not going to get any Kwame's and Chelsea's, and we're not going to get any Zach and Bliss's no more. We're not going to get that, because the caliber of people coming in, or what, they don't have a vetting process at the end of the day, as we're now seeing. It's being put out there that it is literally just a DM in an Instagram message or any type of DM asking if you'd be interested in X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, after you've done that transaction in terms of sending these people the DM, what's the vetting process through that then? Because you need to have people that are literally at a point that are actually looking for love and are actually wanting to get married. Because these people weren't it. Like, seriously, besides Amy and Johnny, these people were not it in the slightest. So that is where that episode ended. And I know the reunion is coming on the 14th of March, so we'll talk about that afterwards. But as I always say, thank you for all the ones that are hitting that subscribe button and rocking with me thus far. I appreciate it loads. But as I always say, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button, so when you know I'm on and do videos. I'll speak to you all again soon. Peace out.